A dedication beyond compare. Among Shriji Maharaj's devotees, Dada Kachar stood out as a paragon of virtues. His unwavering love for Shriji Maharaj was unmatched, and he remained ever eager to obey every agna of Shriji Maharaj. Time and again, Shriji Maharaj put Dada Kachar through severe tests, yet he emerged victorious in each one. That is why Shriji Maharaj would say, "Dado is Dado. Dado is my everything. I cannot live without him." Once Shriji Maharaj called Dada Kachar and said, "Dada, transfer this estate to your sisters." Without a second thought, Dada Kachar immediately handed over his entire wealth to them without any hesitation. Shriji Maharaj then told him, "You no longer have a right to stay here. If you wish to stay, you must remain as a servant." Without question, Dada Kachar started living as a mere servant in his own palace. Another time, in a sabha, Shriji Maharaj publicly said, "You are dismissed from your service. Leave immediately." Many present in the sabha were confused and wondered why Shriji Maharaj was treating such a great devotee this way. But Dada Kachar had no such doubts. Without uttering a single word, he simply bowed at Shriji Maharaj's feet and left with his wife, Jashuba, and son, Baba Kachar. As they departed, Baba Kachar, hungry, began crying. Dada Kachar went to the granary to fetch some gram flour, but Harji Thakur refused to give any, saying, "Maharaj has not given permission." Without arguing, Dada Kachar left empty-handed. As Dada Kachar reached the outskirts of the village, Shriji Maharaj suddenly burst into tears in the darbar. He immediately said, "Call Dada back." When Dada Kachar returned, Shriji Maharaj embraced him and restored his estate by taking it back from his sisters. Despite such harsh tests, Dada Kachar never wavered. He remained as obedient as a puppet in Shriji Maharaj's hands, never questioning his actions or harboring doubts about him. At Shriji Maharaj's request, Dada Kachar selflessly dedicated his entire darbar to the Swamis and devotees. Shriji Maharaj frequently organized grand festivals in Gadara, hosting thousands of devotees. The expenses were enormous, yet Dada Kachar never hesitated to spend for Shriji Maharaj's sake. Even when his estate was under legal dispute in the Bhavnagar court, making finances tight, he never once complained to Shriji Maharaj. He never doubted, "If Maharaj is truly bhagvan, why is he not removing my suffering?" Shriji Maharaj lived in Dada Kachar's darbar for 28 years, calling it his own home. He once explained why. "Even if I strike Dada 5 times a day, he will still tolerate it. I never allow him to settle in one place, and I must have made him move 56 times by now. Yet, Dada has never even wondered, why is Maharaj doing this to me? That is why I choose to stay here." If we cultivate the same level of surrender, faith, and unwavering bhakti as Dada Kachar, then no hardship or challenge will shake our satsang. Shriji Maharaj himself will reside eternally in our hearts, making it his divine abode. To prosper in worldly affairs. Once Gunatitanand Swami addressed an assembly and said, "According to Shriji Maharaj's agna, those who set aside a 10th or 20th of their earnings for dharmado will never face loss. Their wealth will not be burned, stolen, or seized by the king." Among those present was Darbar Manasio Kuman of Senjal, a devoted follower. With firm faith in Swami's words, he began setting aside some of his earnings for dharmado. From his annual income of 10,000 rupees, he regularly donated a 10th according to the Shikshapatri. As a result, his wealth grew immensely, reaching 2 lakh rupees within a short time. He stored this amount in 2 large pots and buried them deep within a room in his house. Former servant, dismissed for misconduct, knew about this hidden treasure. One night, he devised a plan to steal the buried wealth. Since Manasio Kuman's palace was near a river, the servant dug an underground tunnel from the riverbank leading towards the room. However, upon reaching his destination, he found nothing. Frustrated and disappointed, he left empty-handed. The next morning, Manasio Kuman's son, Jiva Kuman, noticed the tunnel in the room and immediately alerted his father, exclaiming, "Bapu, thieves have stolen the treasure during the night." Manasya Kuman calmly replied, Jiva, don't worry. I have already set aside Bhagwan's share. When they checked inside the room, the vessels of wealth were untouched just as they had been left. Gunatitanand Swami emphasized, to prosper in worldly affairs, one should offer a 10th or 20th of their earnings to Thakurji. Similarly, Pramukh Swami Maharaj reinforced this principle, saying, give a 10th or 20th of your income to Thakurji, and you shall be freed from vasana, or deep desire for material things, which are the cause of our rebirths. Thus, for a life of peace, prosperity, and spiritual fulfillment, one must practice regular and sincere dharmadho. Unflinching conviction, unshakable understanding. Ladiba from Bhuj was a devoted disciple of Ramanand Swami. After Ramanand Swami's passing, she had a divine darshan of Shriji Maharaj in the murti of Raghunathji at the Raghunathji temple in Bhuj. From that moment on, her conviction in Shriji Maharaj's supreme divinity became unwavering. She dedicated herself entirely, body, mind, and wealth, to Shriji Maharaj and immersed herself in his bhakti. By Shriji Maharaj's grace, she even attained samadhi. Once, Shriji Maharaj celebrated a grand Anukut festival in Bhuj due to Ladiba's deep inner wish. During the assembly, Shriji Maharaj reinforced the importance of unwavering faith, saying, as long as one's conviction in my divine form remains steadfast, my grace will always be upon them. However, if doubts, arguments, or wavering thoughts arise, I will become helpless. Ladiba etched these words deep into her heart. To test her resolute faith, one day Shriji Maharaj gave her an agna. Dress like a married woman, note that she was a widow, wear a colorful sari, apply a red chandlo, part your hair with sindur or vermilion powder, and walk through the crowded marketplace carrying a water pot on your head. At that time, society imposed strict norms on widows, making this an extremely challenging agna. Yet, without hesitation, Ladiba obeyed, adorning herself like a happily married woman. She did not let doubt cloud her mind with thoughts like, what will society think? With a pot on her head and singing devotional hymns, she walked boldly through the busy marketplace. People were astonished to see her in such attire. Some even mocked her, asking, Ladi, whose house are you getting married into? With unshaken conviction, she replied, Purushottam Narayan's. When she returned, Shriji Maharaj was immensely pleased with her steadfastness and bhakti. In Vachanamrut Loya number 3, Shriji Maharaj says, what would a person who has faith in God and his Sant coupled with the knowledge of their greatness not do for the sake of God and his Sant? For them, he would renounce his family, renounce any fear of public ridicule, renounce the kingdom, renounce pleasures, renounce wealth, renounce his wife, and, in the case of a woman, she would renounce her husband. When such absolute reverence and unwavering faith exists, thoughts like, what will people think, disappear, and only Shriji Maharaj and his Sant remain the sole focus of one's life. Highest level of understanding. In the village of Nainpur in Mahemdabad Taluka, or the Taluka district, there lived a devoted bhakta of Shriji Maharaj, Devji Bhagat. He lived a life of detachment from his physical self. Both he and his wife, Kankuba, were completely immersed in the bhakti of Shriji Maharaj day and night. They had only one son, who, by Shriji Maharaj's grace, was blessed with Niravaran Drashti, or divine vision. Sitting at home, he would witness Shriji Maharaj's divine acts and constantly meditate upon his murti in his heart. In Samvat 1876 or 1819 AD, when their son turned 20 years old, proposals for his marriage started arriving. However, Devji Bhagat and Kankuba had only one heartfelt prayer for Shriji Maharaj. They said, O Maharaj, let our son belong solely to you. Please bless him so that he remains detached from Maya, or worldly affairs. As if responding to their inner plea, Shriji Maharaj suddenly took their son to Akshardham. Typically, when an only son passes away at a young age, parents are left devastated. often losing their sanity in grief. But Devji Bhagat and Kankuba remained steadfast, believing, our son has now been permanently placed in Shriji Maharaj's seva. Understanding that relatives and villagers would come to mourn, which might lead them to weep unnecessarily, Devji Bhagat reasoned, instead of grieving, wouldn't it be better to engage in bhajan and bhakti of Bhagwan? He told his wife, I will go to the farm and you go to Gadra. Take a pot of ghee from our buffaloes and prepare a meal for Shriji Maharaj and the Swamis. I will simply make and eat dry rotlas in the field. This way, we can peacefully continue our bhakti towards Bhagwan. They locked their home and went their separate ways. Devji Bhagat to the fields and Kankuba towards Gadra. Seeing their locked home, relatives and villagers who had come to offer condolences had no choice but to return. When Kankuba reached Gadra, she bowed at Shriji Maharaj's feet. Shriji Maharaj asked, Is Patel happy? She replied, Maharaj, he was happy before, but now he is even happier. Shriji Maharaj, knowing everything, wanted to highlight their deep faith in Samjan to the assembly. So he asked, What happened? Tell us. With absolute composure, Kankuba narrated the passing of their son. Hearing this, the entire Sabha was astonished. Shriji Maharaj then said, Look at this devotee's understanding. His only young son has passed away, yet he has sent a pot of ghee to prepare a meal for the Swamis and me. Meanwhile, in this darbar, the grief over Panchuba's daughter, Hiruba's passing, has not subsided, and even my meal was stopped. But Hiruba was simply fulfilling her past life's resolve to serve me a meal. She was reborn, served me a meal, and then returned to Akshardham. Upon hearing Shriji Maharaj's words, everyone in the darbar realized their mistake and understood that there was no reason to grieve. Life inevitably brings joys and sorrows, but if we accept Bhagwan as the Sarvakarta, or the all-doer, and our eternal well-wisher, we will find inner peace and remain steadfast in satsang. Devji Bhagat and Kankuba's profound understanding deeply impressed everyone. This very understanding earned Devji Bhagat a place among the sacred names in Shriji Maharaj's Mara. If we too cultivate such supreme samjan, we can find a place among the beads or the manka of Shriji Maharaj's Mara as well. Here comes our Jati. Surakachar, a Param Bhaktaraj, or supreme devotee of Loya village, had dedicated his entire life to satsang. He shared an extraordinary bond with Shriji Maharaj and was one of his closest friends. He strictly adhered to the code of dharma in satsang and observed such an unwavering vow of celibacy that even Kamdev, or the god of desire, could not shake his resolve. Once, Surakachar traveled to Jasdan for work and stayed in Thakur Sahib's palace. However, Thakur Sahib disliked Swaminarayan Bhagwan. A wicked thought entered his mind: to corrupt Surakachar and defame both Swaminarayan Bhagwan and his devotees in society. At midnight, Thakur Sahib sent an immoral woman to Surakachar's room. She knocked on the door. Surakachar, who was alert even in his sleep, immediately called out, "Who is it?" With a soft, pleading voice, the woman said, "I live in this house. My son has a fever, and I need medicine. Please, open the door." With a cautious heart, Surakachar slowly opened the door, but the woman suddenly pushed her way inside. She tried to seduce him with vile gestures. Realizing the trap, Surakachar immediately drew his sword. In Gunatitanand Swami's Vat, Chapter 2, number 113, it says, "Before contact is made with material pleasures, be fearful like a goat." That is, run away from them. But if contact is made, become like a lion. That is, chase them away. Surakachar roared like a lion, brandishing his unsheathed sword and frightening the woman away. After expelling her from the house, he thought, "Staying here is dangerous." Without wasting a moment, he mounted his horse and rode through the night to Gadra. Upon reaching Gadra, Surakachar entered the Darbar Gad, or the royal courtyard, where Shriji Maharaj was addressing a sabha. Seeing him, Shriji Maharaj turned to the assembly and declared, "Here comes our Jati, or the celibate devotee. Even in solitude, when tempted by a woman, he remained pure and untainted. Saying this, Shriji Maharaj embraced Surakacha with immense pride. In this age of Kali Yuga, Bhagwan Swaminarayan established a divine satsang fellowship where such strict dharma is upheld, turning Kali Yuga into Satyug, an era of truth and purity. Shriji Maharaj explains in Vachanamrut Grha section 2, number 33, if a person strictly observes the vow of non-lust, then even if I were 1,000 miles away from him, I would still be close to him. Conversely, if a person is slack in his observance of the vow of non-lust, then even if he is beside me, he is as good as 100,000 miles away, and I only like the service offered by a devotee who is lust-free. No matter how far away we may be from the Satpurush in terms of physical distance, the key to being with him, undoubtedly and without fail, is following the vow of non-lust. In today's technological age, it is easy to become careless regarding this principle. Social media, movies, web series, TV shows, and inappropriate internet use can weaken our vow of non-lust. To remain in Maharaj in the Satpurusha's divine presence, we must avoid activities that compromise our purity, use technology wisely and with discretion, follow the principle: for men, one woman, eternal celibacy, and for women, one man, eternal celibacy. If we hold fast to Nishkam Dharma, we too will always remain in the loving embrace of Shriji Maharaj and the Satpurush.